Out in front here at Long Beach, Philippe Albuquerque in the Cadillac.
Great run for Ryan Dalziel, coming off that runner-up position here last year with the fastest lap. Look at the two Fords. They're getting racy once again. It's a battle for second position right now with Tommy Milner in the lead Corvette out front.
I'm still amazed at how scrappy these two Fords are willing to be, especially considering the fact that the 67 has the championship lead.
Yeah, well, there's certainly no team orders at this early stage of the season, but Ryan Briscoe said he was going for it, and he got side by side with Dirk Mueller heading into turn 6, and somehow made the pass stick by the time they got to the brake zone for 8. But it was certainly touch and go.
Looks like he's holding these two cars behind him up right now, but doing a good job. They're evenly matched.
Well, I'm impressed with John Edwards as well. In the back of the shot, you see the white BMW from Team Rahal Letterman Lanigan, and here's the side-by-side action we saw just a little bit earlier.
Yeah, about 3 laps ago, you can see there Briscoe just gets the power down and gets all the way to the flank of Dirk Mueller. It was a brilliant racing move by Ryan Briscoe. Gave Dirk Mueller room at apex, and now he's out in the dirt, but he realized if he can just make it stick here, he's got the inside line for turn 8 where Dirk Mueller's just got to give it up. So really great tenacious driving there by Ryan Briscoe.
Well, we saw the problem, and once again, you see the BMW in there with John Edwards, and just impressed. We've seen them off pace, but they seem to have found a little bit here in the race, at least enough to hang with the number 3 Corvette.
There's another look from on board the number 3 car. That's how tight it is between the two teammates there right through the apex area, and now they're hard on acceleration down into the brake zone for turn 8. Just another look at this racing move.
Into the, look how close he came to the inside wall. That's what he got it just right, and Dane Cameron got it just wrong last year. He had to crowd to the inside, or he gets out in that gray area where there's low grip like we talked about. So he wasn't just being not cool. He was saying, I got to leave enough room, but just enough room so I can keep my outside tires on the clean part of the track.
Meanwhile, up in front, that's good news for Tommy Milner because he's able to pull away from that battle behind just a little bit. I would imagine fingers crossed down in the Corvette camp. Justin?
Well, fingers crossed, but you just your word frantic. Frantic it is in pit side and on the track.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a frantic race, rather crazy at times, and it seems like the guys who have been very, very quick in our class have just made those little mistakes, and Tommy's managed to capitalize on those. He's driven brilliantly so far, and you know, we've got about 15 minutes left, and we're just keeping our fingers crossed for our first victory this year. This is our 20th season of Corvette racing, and we want to get our first victory for this C7R this year. So, yeah, it's a bit tense, but fingers crossed.
Jamie?
Well, down in the Mustang sampling pit, Joao Barbosa, you've got the smile on your face now. Gary Nelson, your team manager, said this week, everything has to go right. You guys started P5 today. What has the team had to overcome to get up to the lead?
You know, it's Long Beach very hard to overtake, right? We didn't really nail the setup on qualifying, so we start 5th position, but I mean, these guys at Action Express did a tremendous job on the pit stops. I mean, we got track position, excellent strategy. Our Cadillac Mustang sampling, it's running really good. Continental tires are hanging in there. You know, it's still a long time to go, like many laps. It's very close, everybody's very close, but so far Philippe is doing a great job, and we're excited, but it's still not over yet.
They led the last 6 hours at Daytona, guys. They're used to waiting.
Team Portugal. He's calling him Felipe, so I'm confused.
Yeah,
we're talking something different this week.
And it's not hard to confuse us, but I mean,
look at the Mazdas side by side. Talking about teammates going.
Right. It's so important for Mazda to have a good finish, especially here in California.
I'm going to comment on something. He said they got us track position. You hear this track position, track position, track position. It literally means order. And so sometimes if you're doing a 20-second stop to another 20-second stop, they cancel out. But sometimes you'll make a gamble to just get further up in the order, even if you don't have enough fuel. Even because when yellows happen, it tends to cancel some of that stuff out. So you kind of rob Peter to pay Paul. And so you hear this phrase track position. It literally means getting ahead in the order, even if you're out of sequence on some other way, and hopefully those strategies come together.
Or maybe you get that track position by suddenly extending your run a little bit. You get a hot in lap, that gets you out with that track position in front of the car, but that car's coming up behind you. But because you have the track position, it's tough to get by, so that gets you the position on the road.
And then you go from teammates to a little sibling rivalry as you watch the Nissan go by the bright green car. Then up next, Ricky Taylor in the number 7, followed by the number 10, Jordan Taylor, his brother. Taylor's won here last year. Only one of them can do it this year.
Well, I'm sure Wayne Taylor, their father, has been waiting for this day when they're battling it out. He'd like to see it for the victory right now for that final podium position. But good recovery drive here by Jordan Taylor. As you mentioned, Brian, that team going for their 4th consecutive victory. Haven't quite had the edge in pace this weekend at any of the practice sessions or the qualifying run, but they're just such a stout team. They do everything right.
Talking about the rivalry between brothers, when they were teamed up together, I dug in and tried to get one to tell dirt on the other. There's a lot of competition. I have 3 brothers, and you're competitive. You love each other. You're competitive. These kids, there's literally no distance between them. Even jokingly, they wouldn't say anything rough about the other one. Now they're on opposite teams. Huge amount of respect as we see. I think this is not for position. They might be telling that Porsche to let that Porsche by, telling Tommy Milner to let that Porsche by.
You heard Oliver Gavin say we won our first win of the year. You saw our Continental Tire race recap with Albuquerque leading in prototype and Tom Milner there in the bright yellow number 4 Corvette leading in GT Le Mans. And now, oh, what happened with Dial?
Wow, he's lost a little bit of time, and suddenly Ricky Taylor's all over him, and here's
Taylor
his brother
side by
alongside. Taylor versus Taylor.
Drag
Here we
race.
go.
Ricky will be on the inside when they get to the brake zone. Jordan's going to try to move over in front of him, and he does.
But he squeezes him.
What happened to Ryan Dial in that green Nissan to create this mess? Now, Ricky coming back on his brother. Can he get it done? Late braking into one.
Wow, that was awesome. But look at this. The number 77 car, the Mazda. Ollie Jarvis behind the wheel. He is really quick right now. He's closed in on this battle, looking for a podium run.
I wonder if Dial got out from that slick stuff in the corner before and was trying to clean his tires off.
It's so treacherous. We've seen it so many times. Once you get off the racing line through that final sector there, 9 through 11 into the hairpin, you can lose a ton of time. Maybe that's what occurred.
I mean, all of a sudden, he was just stopped there in turn 10,
off again.
And now
it's
he's
like
gone.
He's got pace.
Almost pinched Ricky Taylor into the wall.
Looks like Ricky.
I love this overhead shot, seeing where people are gaining the time.
Looks like Ricky in the white prototype that goes by has a little bit of advantage once he got clear of Jordan and they got away from each other. Was able to pull away a little bit, but Dial has been the big gainer.
You saw Ollie Jarvis there under braking. I asked Ollie Jarvis yesterday, where is this car strong? He said it's really good under the brakes, and you could see that under braking for turn 9. Kind of an optical illusion with the time versus distance, of course, but even so. And look at that, you see the Cadillac, the torque, getting the power down. You have to wonder whether Ricky Taylor's rear tires are going away a little bit as his brother Jordan Taylor gets a really good exit off of the hairpin. He's going to put Ricky Taylor under pressure.
And Ricky takes it in super
wide.
They're both
Taylor's
wide.
Taylor is super wide. Can Jarvis take advantage? Not quite.
Oh, and that Jordan Taylor in that black number 10 just dancing on the very edge of adhesion. Barely kept the car under control, and I think Ricky had no choice but to kind of surrender and let him go. I think he was worried about his own
Taylor
car.
wide again. He touches the wall. He's in trouble. He's got out in the marbles. I think he may have lost the rear tires a little bit, Tommy, looking at his traction coming off the hairpin that last time.
Not just one Mazda, but 2 beginning to swarm.
Cameron's catching him too. Look at the background. The second of the Acura Team Penske machines is right there. That strategy backfired on him, but right now Cameron's got a good car going underneath him.
Bomarito in the 55 Mazda, the red prototype on your right, trying to get the better of his teammate.
Got to be careful.
Here
You
comes
get outside
Cameron.
that racing line. Oh,
and he did.
Yeah, no grip out there, just zero grip. You're just trying to keep it off the wall. Cameron takes the position.
Seems to have become a one-lane racetrack in many of these corners now.
Usually you can see it, but that they clearly can't. There's something going on there with the rubber from the drift cars or something. It really is not giving them any indication, and it's a dramatic fall off.
And now it's Mazda versus Acura on the drag race down to turn 1.
Ricky Taylor is just hanging on here. They wanted the big points. They wanted the victory, at least the podium. Right now, he's just hanging on there in the 4th position.
When I talked to Montoya before the start, he did say that he thought that rear tire life towards the end of the stint would be something they'd really have to watch.
The real key indicator was just under acceleration between the 10 and that number 7 machine.
On the overhead, you should
hairpin.
see the car stretching, because a 1/10 of a second at 50 miles an hour is much closer than a 1/10 at 100 miles an hour, double, I guess. And so in terms of distance, and with that Corvette staying right on his bumper, he was clearly getting a better shot.
And the Audi move of the race. We thought it was going to be the one the previous lap, but we waited one lap and we got a different one.
Well, this one counts, and Jordan's there a little bit in no man land, waiting to see what his brother Ricky's going to do, and Ricky can't get it turned in. He's not got the rear grip. Then the Mazda nearly takes advantage as well. This was dicey right there.
Great case of discipline. Jordan says, I can't go any deeper than this, and Ricky went a hair deeper than that, and that was just enough.
You'd have to think about the brotherly dynamic right at that moment. That had to come into play.
Yeah, and there's no question about it. And they, like I said, they are truly the best of friends. Really talented young drivers driving with two big teams. Now with the two Penske cars, Ricky really sliding backwards.
Yeah, and I would think he would get the call, let him go if he's a little bit quicker as Cameron tucks it to the inside. Made his stop a little bit later, of course, so his tires are slightly fresher.
I think you're exactly right. I think Ricky Taylor has used up the Continental tires on that Acura prototype. As he's beginning to drop backwards, Dane Cameron just motors by. And it was interesting. We talked about it at the beginning of the show. You certainly did, Calvin, about how Cadillac had been strong. They won the 5-1 at the Rolex 24. We saw the 22 Nissan win at Sebring. And other teams, other manufacturers needed to step up. Good performances by both Acura and Mazda today. But who's still out in front?
I know, and it's all about, you know, the strength over the long run. Yes, both the Mazda and the Acura have a tremendous pace, but again, you can see over the course of the duration, Tommy, their tire life just doesn't seem to be there. That Cadillac is still super strong, as is the Nissan. I think they'll be very happy to be on the podium. I think that you said that they thought they had a 5th, 6th place car. Well, DL's got a lot more than that today.
But it's the same strategy that they used last year. They knew they didn't have the pace, and the word that Ryan DL used was track position. We need to find that with pit stops.
And here we got two teammates battling it out, and I got a feeling that maybe Dirk Mueller's tires are in a little bit better shape than his teammate Ryan Briscoe right in front of him.
And of course, he'll be on the radio going, he needs to let me by. My car is better. He needs to let me by.
Oh, Dirk will certainly be asking. I'm not sure that Mike Carl over on the 67 box is going to give it to them, though. He's going to have to earn it.
The only way they would is if that Corvette could get close and start to apply pressure, then it becomes a different dynamic.
Then he has an argument.
Yep. Big week for Ryan Briscoe. He's going to be taking the oath to become a U.S. citizen on Wednesday.
That's a big thing.
Yep.
You've been talking to him about politics and helping him out, and never mind. We're not going to go there with you.
I don't talk politics.
Ford's through the hairpin, and Garcia, you said it earlier, a good comeback after the problem coming off the hairpin. Very odd with a sequential shift box and transmission, the paddle shift that they have to get that missed shift, but seemed to be in neutral coming off of the hairpin a few laps ago.
I checked in with Dan Binks, the crew chief on that car, and he says if he touched the clutch overrides. Other than pit stops, you don't touch the clutch in these cars.
Oh, come on. We need to go back to like H-pattern gearboxes.
Good luck with that, Ron. Yeah. Good luck.
Tell you what, Dirk Mueller wants those points. Remember, there's a championship on the line. 66 car did not have a good Sebring. The 67 car had a bit of a reboot midway through the race. They got their car up into the bigger points, finished 4th there, and have the championship lead. So these boys won a championship. They've had success. They've won races, but the title is what Chip Ganassi Racing and that Ford GT camp are looking for this year.
67 with that great win at the Rolex 24. And you know, Tommy, we talk about these cars and we're joking about going back to H-pattern gearboxes, but you raced at a time where your career spanned back into what we'll call the olden days, where you actually shifted the car with an H-pattern box, and then your time with the Dodge program where it was a much more sophisticated car like this. Is the driving much different? Do you have to think through it much differently?
Well, it just changes things. Like I used to always like to skip gears on down changes so that you didn't introduce an additional input of the engine braking coming in and out with a down change. With the sequential, you have to go through the gears. So it's the same challenge, trying to figure out how to optimize it better than everyone else. It's just slightly different variables.
Tell you what, coming through turn 9 on that previous lap, Ryan Briscoe had a real twitch. He is literally hanging on for dear life right now. Mueller's car is definitely stronger. But look at him sliding.
You said something, Tommy. You said if the Corvette gets much closer, well, guess what?
He's there.
Yeah.
Watch how, and this is where you see, watch how close they get on the exit of this corner. You really won't be able to put paper between the cars. And if they're trying to maximize the radius all the way from the outside out, clipping that inside apex, here comes the overall race leader as well.
Mueller needs to time this sector right here. If he can set up Ryan Briscoe getting the exit off of turn 8, maybe he can get a run down the straightaway into turn 9.
Seemed like the Corvette not quite as good through that 4, 5, and 6 combination, and he's lost a little bit of ground. But for Felipe Albuquerque, he's going to have to work through this battle, and the question is, can Dirk Mueller use that prototype to help him gain position over his teammate?
See Briscoe there really compromised the exit there. Watch this from one lap ago. What is really twitchy for Ryan Briscoe is he's just dancing on that fine line between getting the car in the fence. Look at that.
And it's not much further out that all that grip goes away. We've seen that problem for several cars.
And that was the traction control catching that for him.
The gap a little bit extended this time down the front straightaway. Briscoe there, screen left, and Mueller closing in under braking.
Wonder what the team are telling him on the radio. The pressure from behind has been eliminated a little bit with the overall leader suddenly getting in between the Fords and the Corvette of Antonio Garcia. But look at that, Mueller is quicker. Briscoe is really struggling for rear grip right now, and Mueller's close. Can he do anything with this? How much of a risk will he take on his teammate?
I'll tell you what, this is where the mental game comes in, where he's under pressure. He doesn't have the car he wants, but he's basically saying, I need to check my speed where he can't get around me, mainly in the middle of the corner, and get good shots off, and he's not succumbing to the pressure yet.
Should be coming to the white this time by as Albuquerque in the black prototype, your overall leader, is going to work by these two. And as I said, it depends on where he catches him. If Albuquerque goes inside Briscoe here in 9, Mueller may be able to follow him through. It doesn't happen there. But the other thing Albuquerque needs to be careful of, he can't throw away his race trying to get by these guys when he has several seconds in hand, almost 5 over Ryan Dial.
He'll just be patient, wait for this straightaway, which is good news for Briscoe.
They're going to barely get to start finish with 16 seconds to spare, which means one more lap.
Good news for Briscoe. There's only one more lap to go.
And he's got a gap.
Sometimes if you're just ahead of the overall leader, it means you've got to do an extra lap to see the checkered flag and hang on that extra minute or so.
Those fuel strategy races, or when you've had a problem, some type of mechanical, go back to the Rolex 24. When the Cadillacs had an issue and the 31 had their issue and the 5 was out in front, and they knew they had problems, but they had to nurse it to the end. And it was like, you don't want to see one more lap if you've got any kind of a problem.
Oh, now Dirk Mueller a little bit wide there coming onto this straightaway.
Yeah,
you guys saw there was a white wall on the left front of the Ford, so he's come into contact with something as well.
He can't relax too much. Garcia is one of the best in the business. He will pounce.
Garcia did not want that prototype to pass him there, knowing that's going to cost him time.
Jordan Taylor on the attack right now. Sitting in the 3rd position, chasing after Ryan Dial. That Nissan right in front of him there. Nissan versus Cadillac for this final runner-up position here.
Here's your leader, Philippe Albuquerque, and a problem was that's
the leader.
The overall leader, or the GTLM leader.
Is he going to wait? I think he's waiting. Yeah, he's trying to do it so he doesn't have to do another lap.
Good move, and GM comes out big. Cadillac and Corvette win at Long Beach. Albuquerque, what a spectacular run for him. His first Long Beach class win, 3rd win for Barbosa, and good stuff. Ollie Gavin and his Corvette, his 5th Long Beach class win. For Tom Milner, his 3rd here at the beach. IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Series action. We'll come back with the celebration.